Stop apologizing. Right now. Stop saying sorry for things that don't require apology. Stop shrinking yourself every time someone looks at you wrong. Stop training people to disrespect you by apologizing for your existence. Today, I'm going to show you why sorry is the most dangerous word in your vocabulary and how it's destroying every ounce of power you have. Yesterday, I watched a competent professional apologize 17 times in a 30-minute meeting. Sorry, can I ask a question? Sorry, I'm not sure if this is right. Sorry for interrupting. Sorry, this might be a stupid idea. She wasn't sorry. She was competent, intelligent, and had valuable contributions. But every time sorry left her mouth, she handed her power to people who weren't half as capable. By the end of that meeting, nobody remembered her good ideas. They only remembered that she apologized for having them. This isn't about one person's bad habit. This is a fundamental truth about human psychology that Niccolò Machiavelli understood 500 years ago. Habitual apology is not politeness. It's submission. It's not empathy. It's weakness. It's not consideration. It's self-destruction. Think about the last 24 hours. How many times did you say sorry for things that weren't your fault? How many times did you apologize for taking up space, for having needs, for existing? Did you say sorry when someone bumped into you? Did you apologize for asking a question? Every single one of those apologies was a piece of your self-respect that you gave away for free. Here's what nobody tells you. People don't respect you more when you apologize constantly. They respect you less. They don't see you as considerate. They see you as weak. They don't appreciate your politeness. They exploit your insecurity. Every unnecessary sorry signals that you believe you deserve less, that your presence is a burden, that your needs don't matter. Machiavelli watched this pattern destroy leaders across Renaissance Italy. He saw princes who apologized for hard decisions lose their kingdoms. He witnessed advisors who constantly said sorry get ignored and replaced. He documented how apology without genuine wrongdoing creates perception of incompetence. And he wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He wasn't advocating cruelty. He was observing that respect without apology is stronger than affection with constant submission. Today, I'm revealing the dark psychology behind why over-apologizing destroys your power and what to do instead. These aren't comfortable truths. They go against everything you've been taught about being polite and humble. But they work because they understand something most refuse to accept. Apology is not a virtue. Apology is a tool. And like any tool, using it incorrectly causes damage. Before we go deeper, drop this affirmation in the comments. I will never apologize for things that don't require apology. Now let's understand exactly how the apology trap works and how to escape it. Number 1. The apology trap. From childhood, you were taught that sorry is magic. Say sorry, and conflict disappears. Say sorry, and adults stop being angry. This conditioning created a neural pathway. Discomfort equals apology. The problem is that this childhood survival strategy becomes an adult self-sabotage pattern. As a child, apologizing protected you from punishment. As an adult, apologizing signals that you accept blame even when you're not at fault. The apology that once kept you safe now keeps you powerless. Let me show you how this trap operates. You're walking and someone bumps into you. You immediately say sorry. You've just trained that person that even when they're careless, you'll take responsibility. You send an email starting with "sorry to bother you," but you've communicated that asking questions is a burden. You have a different opinion and begin with "sorry, I might be wrong," but you've told everyone your perspective comes pre-apologized for. Every micro-apology seems harmless. They seem polite, but they're programming everyone to see you as someone whose time, opinions, and presence are worth less. You're training people to expect submission. The apology trap has 3 levels. Level 1 is apologizing for genuine mistakes. This is appropriate. Level 2 is apologizing for things outside your control. Traffic made you late. These apologies are unnecessary but seem harmless. They train you to accept responsibility for circumstances you didn't create. Level 3 is apologizing for existing. Sorry for taking up your time. Sorry for having needs. This is pure self-sabotage. This is where your power dies. Most chronic apologizers live in level 3 without realizing it. They've internalized the belief that their existence is somehow an inconvenience. This belief is psychological poison. It creates a reality where you're always subordinate, always in debt, always less than everyone around you. And the cruelest part is that you're doing this to yourself. Nobody's forcing you to apologize. You're choosing it because the discomfort of not apologizing feels worse than the long-term damage of constant submission. Machiavelli observed that princes who apologized frequently lost respect from both allies and enemies. Allies doubted their strength. Enemies sensed weakness and increased attacks. The pattern was consistent. Chronic apology led to loss of authority, which led to loss of power. The same pattern operates in your life today. When you apologize constantly, people unconsciously categorize you as someone who can be pushed around, interrupted, dismissed, and deprioritized. Here's the mechanism. Apology signals regret for wrongdoing. When you apologize for things that aren't wrong, you create cognitive dissonance in observers. Their brain receives the apology signal but can't identify the wrongdoing. The conclusion their unconscious reaches is that your judgment is flawed. This destroys your credibility. The first step to escaping the apology trap is awareness. For 24 hours, count every time you say sorry. Don't try to stop yet. Just count. Become aware of how automatic this response has become. Notice what triggers it. Is it when you need something? When you have an opinion? When someone else makes a mistake? This awareness is crucial because you can't change a pattern you don't see. Drop this affirmation. I am aware of my apology patterns. Number 2. Power dynamics of apology. Every apology creates a power dynamic. The person apologizing takes the lower status position. The person receiving takes the higher status. This is psychological reality observed across every culture. When you apologize, you acknowledge that you did something requiring forgiveness. The other person now has power to grant or withhold that forgiveness. In healthy relationships, this balances. I apologize when I wrong you. You apologize when you wrong me. But with chronic apologizing, the dynamic becomes permanently tilted. You're always apologizing. Others are always granting forgiveness. Think about your relationships. Who apologizes more? Is there reciprocity, or is it consistently you saying sorry while others rarely do? This imbalance reveals the actual power structure, not the official one. You might technically be equals at work, peers in friendship, or partners in romance. But if you're the one constantly apologizing, you're actually in the subordinate position regardless of what titles say. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few really know what you are." Your habitual apologies make you appear weak and subordinate. What matters is the perception created by your behavior. When you apologize, you're stating that the other person's comfort is more important than yours. You're asking them to overlook your transgression, positioning them as judge. This gives them authority over you. Even if they graciously accept your apology, the dynamic has been set. You're the one whose behavior is being evaluated. They're the one doing the evaluating. Multiply this across dozens of interactions. Every unnecessary apology reinforces that you're subordinate. Over time, this becomes default expectation. People expect you to apologize, to defer. When you don't, they react with confusion because you violated the established pattern. They've gotten comfortable with your submission, and any deviation feels like disruption. The truly insidious part is that chronic apologizing makes you invisible. When someone apologizes constantly, their apologies become background noise. Sorry stops meaning anything. People stop hearing it as genuine regret and start hearing it as a verbal tick signaling low confidence. Your apologies literally stop registering as meaningful communication. You've devalued your own words through overuse. But when you stop apologizing unnecessarily, people notice. Suddenly your presence has more weight. When you do apologize for something genuinely wrong, it carries significance. Your words matter more because you've shown you believe your words matter. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it starts the moment you become conscious of the power dynamics in every apology. Strategic people understand that apology is a tool for relationship repair when genuine harm occurred, not a social lubricant used constantly. They apologize rarely and only when warranted. This makes their apologies meaningful and their presence powerful. They don't walk around saying sorry for existing. They exist with confidence and only acknowledge actual wrongdoing. Consider two people arriving 3 minutes late to coffee. Person A: "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm terrible with time. I'm so sorry." this is so rude. Person B, hey, good to see you. Thanks for waiting those few minutes. Same situation, completely different power dynamic. Person A positioned themselves as inferior and desperate. Person B acknowledged the wait but maintained equal status. Who do you respect more? This doesn't mean being rude. This means being conscious of when apology serves the relationship versus when it just diminishes you. Most situations don't require sorry. Thanks for your patience is better than sorry I'm late. I have a different perspective is stronger than sorry, but I disagree. Let me ask you something is more powerful than sorry to bother you. Machiavelli observed that leaders who apologized for their decisions undermined their own authority. Their subjects questioned whether the leader believed in their choices. This doubt eroded respect and power. The same pattern plays out in your life. When you apologize for your choices, opinions, needs, and preferences, you signal that you're uncertain about your right to have them. Others pick up on this uncertainty and treat your positions as negotiable or dismissible. Drop this. I understand power dynamics. Number 3. When apology equals admission of inferiority. There are situations where apologizing creates permanent perception of inferiority. Once you've apologized in these contexts, reversing the power dynamic becomes nearly impossible. You've set yourself as less than in a way that tends to stick. Apologizing for your expertise is one clear example. You're in a meeting with specialized knowledge. You begin with, sorry, I might be wrong, but you've told everyone that you, the expert, doubt your own expertise. Why should they trust your knowledge if you don't? You've positioned yourself as someone who has information but lacks confidence in that information. This makes you seem like an unreliable source even when you're completely correct. This pattern is common among people with imposter syndrome. They have genuine expertise but apologize for sharing it because they fear appearing arrogant. The irony is that this apology makes them appear less competent than confidently stating their expertise would. Based on my experience, here's what I recommend is powerful. Sorry, I might be wrong. Is weak. Same information, completely different positioning. Apologizing for your needs creates similar dynamics. Sorry to ask, but could you? Communicates that having needs is wrong, that asking for anything is a burden. This trains people to see your needs as optional or low priority. Compared to, I need this by Friday, or could you send me that file? No apology, just clear statement. This positions you as someone whose needs are legitimate and expected to be met. Apologizing for your emotions might be most damaging. Sorry I'm upset, or sorry for crying, sends the message that having feelings is wrong, that emotional responses require apology. This creates a dynamic where your emotions are always invalid, where expressing feelings requires permission, where you can't trust your own internal experience without seeking external validation. Machiavelli wrote extensively about appearing strong even when facing difficulties. He observed that princes who apologized for showing emotion or making demands were seen as weak. This weakness invited challenges and overthrow. The princes who survived owned their positions and emotions without apology. They didn't say, sorry for being angry. They said, this is unacceptable and will change. Direct, clear, no submission. Here's what happens psychologically. You're asking permission to be human, to have expertise, to have needs, to have feelings. By asking permission, you're acknowledging someone else has authority to grant or deny it. You've placed yourself below them in the hierarchy of whose humanity is valid. This is devastating to your self-respect and to others' respect for you. The alternative isn't being aggressive. The alternative is stating things clearly without apologizing for existing. Here's my analysis. Instead of sorry, here's what I think. I need this to do my job, instead of sorry to ask. I'm frustrated with this situation, instead of sorry I'm upset. You're still communicating the same information, but you're not subordinating yourself. There's a particularly destructive type, apologizing for other people's behavior. Someone makes a rude comment, and you say sorry, they're just stressed. You're not just excusing their behavior. You're taking responsibility for managing everyone's emotions. This positions you as emotional caretaker whose job is to smooth over everyone else's rough edges at expense of your boundaries. When you apologize for things that aren't your responsibility, you train yourself and others that you'll absorb blame and take on burdens belonging to someone else. This makes you a magnet for people who refuse to take responsibility. They learn that you'll carry their weight, apologize for their mistakes, and make their lives easier while yours gets harder. The shift required: you must internalize that your existence, expertise, needs, and emotions don't require apology. They require acknowledgement and respect, starting with your own. When you stop apologizing for being human, you stop inviting others to treat your humanity as negotiable or less valid than theirs. Drop this: my existence requires no apology. Number 4. The over-apologizer profile. Let me describe someone and tell me if this sounds familiar. This person says sorry before asking questions, before stating opinions, before taking up any space. They apologize when someone bumps into them. They apologize for needing things. They apologize for having feelings. They apologize for apologizing. If this is you, you're an over-apologizer, and this pattern is costing you everything. Over-apologizers share specific traits. First, they have external locus of control. They believe everything that goes wrong is somehow their fault. Traffic jam? Their fault for choosing this route. Someone's in a bad mood? Their fault for existing near that person. Project failed? Definitely their fault, even if they only contributed 5%. This distorted responsibility leads to apologizing for things they didn't cause and couldn't control. Second, over-apologizers have internalized the belief that their needs and presence are burdensome. This usually stems from childhood, where expressing needs led to criticism or withdrawal of affection. The child learns that having needs causes problems, so they apologize. As adults, they apologize reflexively when needing anything. The apology is a preemptive attempt to minimize the burden they believe they're creating by existing. Third, over-apologizers conflate politeness with submission. They think being considerate means constantly deferring, that being kind means always putting themselves last, that being a good person means apologizing for taking up space. This confusion causes behaviors that seem polite but communicate weakness and invite disrespect. True politeness respects both yourself and others. Chronic apologizing only respects others while disrespecting yourself. Fourth, over-apologizers are addicted to avoiding conflict. Sorry is their conflict prevention tool. Any hint of tension triggers apology because it temporarily relieves anxiety. The problem is this creates a pattern where they can never stand their ground, never maintain boundaries, never disagree without immediately backing down. They've traded their power and self-respect for the illusion of harmony. Machiavelli would identify over-apologizers as people who chose to be loved over being respected and ended up with neither. People don't genuinely love those who constantly subordinate themselves. They might like the convenience of someone who always defers, but that's not love or respect. It's use. Over-apologizers become useful tools for others' convenience, while their own lives become smaller and less fulfilling. Here's the brutal assessment. If you're an over-apologizer, you're training everyone to see you as less important, less competent, and less deserving. You're doing this through thousands of small apologies that individually seem harmless, but collectively add up to complete surrender of your personal power. The person who suffers most isn't the people around you. It's you. You're living in constant anxiety about whether you're allowed to exist, whether your needs are valid, whether you deserve to take up space. The transformation requires rewiring decades of conditioning. It requires catching yourself mid-sorry and choosing different words. It requires sitting with discomfort of not apologizing when every instinct screams to make discomfort go away with sorry. It requires believing, truly believing, that your presence, needs, opinions, and feelings are as valid as anyone else's and don't require permission or apology. This transformation is uncomfortable. People who've gotten used to your constant apologies will react negatively when you stop. They've benefited from your submission, and they won't want to lose that benefit. Some relationships will end when you stop over-apologizing because those relationships were built on you accepting the subordinate position. That's not loss. That's clearing space for relationships built on mutual respect instead of your submission. The clearest sign you're an over-apologizer is when people say, "You don't need to apologize for that," or "Why are you apologizing?" Listen to that feedback. Those people are pointing out that your apology doesn't match any wrongdoing. They're confused by your submission because there's nothing to submit for. This confusion should be your wake-up call. Drop this if you recognize yourself. I am an over-apologizer recovering my power. Number 5. Strategic versus weak apology. Not all apologies are weak. Not all apologies destroy power. There are situations where apology is strategic, appropriate, and strengthens relationships. The key is knowing the difference between strategic apology that serves you and weak apology that diminishes you. Strategic apology has three characteristics. First, it addresses genuine harm you caused. You made an actual mistake that negatively affected someone. You failed to meet a commitment. You said something hurtful. You damaged something that mattered to them. This is real wrongdoing warranting genuine apology. Strategic apology acknowledges this clearly and specifically. Second, strategic apology is offered once, clearly, without excessive self-flagellation. I apologize for missing that deadline. It affected your timeline, and I take full responsibility. Here's how I'll prevent this in the future. Done. No groveling. No repeated apologies. No dramatic displays of regret. Just clear acknowledgement, responsibility, and commitment to improvement. This maintains dignity while repairing the relationship. Third, strategic apology includes correction. It's not just "I'm sorry." It's "I'm sorry, and here's what I'm doing to fix it and ensure it doesn't happen again." This transforms apology from pure submission into demonstration of accountability and problem solving. You're not just acknowledging you failed. You're showing you can learn, adapt, and improve. This actually increases respect rather than decreasing it. Weak apology looks different. Weak apology addresses things that aren't your fault or aren't actual wrongs. Sorry the weather ruined your plans. Sorry you didn't like the restaurant. Sorry I had a different opinion. None of these are wrongs you committed. Apologizing signals confused judgment and low self-worth. Weak apology is repeated excessively. "I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm terrible. I'm so sorry." This transforms acknowledgement into display of self-hatred and desperation for forgiveness. It makes the other person uncomfortable and makes you look pathetic rather than accountable. One clear apology is strategic. 5 apologies for the same thing is weakness. Weak apology includes no correction or change. "I'm sorry" followed by doing the same thing again makes your apology meaningless. It becomes clear you're apologizing as a social ritual to escape consequences, not because you're taking responsibility for change. This erodes trust faster than if you hadn't apologized at all. Machiavelli observed that effective leaders apologized rarely, but when they did, it was complete and followed by immediate correction. This made their rare apologies carry weight and demonstrate true accountability. Leaders who apologized constantly or apologized without changing behavior lost all credibility. Their apologies became meaningless noise everyone learned to ignore. Here's the test for whether an apology is strategic or weak. Ask yourself 3 questions. First, did I actually cause harm or make a genuine mistake? If not, don't apologize. Second, will this apology repair the relationship or just make me feel better about avoiding conflict? If it's just conflict avoidance, don't apologize. Third, am I prepared to change my behavior or fix the problem, or am I just apologizing to escape discomfort? If you're not prepared to change, your apology is manipulation. Strategic apology in practice. You committed to deliver work by Thursday. You didn't deliver until Friday, creating problems. Strategic apology. I apologize for the delay. I understand it affected your timeline for the client presentation. I should have communicated earlier that I was running behind. Moving forward, I'll update you by Wednesday if I'm at risk of missing a deadline, so you have time to adjust. Clear, specific, includes acknowledgement of impact, outlines prevention. Weak apology for same situation. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. I'm so disorganized. I'm really sorry. I know you're mad. I'm so sorry." Self-indulgent. Focuses on your feelings rather than impact on them. Includes no plan for improvement. Makes the other person manage your emotions rather than receiving genuine accountability. The strategic apologizer maintains respect even when acknowledging mistakes because they show clear thinking, ownership, and problem solving. The weak apologizer loses respect because they show emotional dysregulation, lack of boundaries, and inability to separate genuine wrongdoing from normal existence. Here's the crucial distinction. Strategic apology is about the other person and repairing harm done to them. Weak apology is about you and managing your discomfort with their possible displeasure. Strategic apology strengthens relationships. Weak apology trains people to lose respect for you while enabling you to avoid growth. When you master strategic apology, you'll apologize perhaps 10% as often as currently, but those apologies will carry real weight and create real repair. The other 90% of situations where you currently apologize don't actually warrant apology. They warrant clear communication, boundaries, or simply continuing to exist without seeking permission. Drop this. I apologize strategically, not weakly. Number 6. Alternatives to sorry. If you're going to stop over-apologizing, you need alternative phrases to replace the automatic sorry. These alternatives communicate consideration, acknowledgement, or gratitude without subordinating yourself. Instead of "sorry I'm late," say "thank you for waiting" or "thanks for your patience." This shifts from you being wrong to them being considerate. Instead of "sorry to bother you," say "do you have a moment?" or "when you have time, I'd like to discuss something." This positions your request as legitimate rather than burdensome. Instead of "sorry, I disagree," say "I have a different perspective," or "here's what I'm thinking." This owns your viewpoint without apologizing for having one. Instead of "sorry for the long email," say "I wanted to give you complete context," or simply send the email without meta-commentary about its length. Instead of "sorry I'm upset," say "I'm frustrated with this situation," or "this matters to me." This validates your emotions rather than apologizing for them. Instead of "sorry, can I ask a question?" just ask the question. Questions don't require apology. These alternatives feel uncomfortable because they remove your shield of submission. "Sorry" protects you from potential conflict. When you remove that protective apology, you're exposing yourself to the possibility someone might not like what you're saying. This vulnerability is terrifying for chronic apologizers. But this is where your power returns. Machiavelli understood that appearing vulnerable while maintaining strength was sophisticated strategy. Not apologizing when others expect it shows you're secure enough to stand in potential disapproval without collapsing. This security is magnetic. People respect those who can face discomfort without immediately submitting. Practice these alternatives in low-stakes situations first. Email is easier than in-person conversation. Text messages are easier than phone calls. Build the muscle of non-apology communication gradually. Your brain will fight you because "sorry" has been your default for so long. Every time you choose an alternative, you're rewiring neural pathways and rebuilding self-respect. Notice what happens when you stop apologizing unnecessarily. Most of the time, nothing negative happens. The feared conflict doesn't materialize. People don't get offended. The relationship doesn't suffer. You've been apologizing to prevent disasters that were never going to happen. You've been submitting to avoid consequences that were never real. Occasionally, someone will react negatively when you stop because they've gotten comfortable with your submission. This negative reaction is valuable information. It tells you this person's comfort depended on your discomfort, that they benefited from your subordination. This is someone whose opinion shouldn't matter because they only liked you when you were making yourself smaller. The goal isn't to never say sorry again. The goal is to reserve sorry for situations where you've genuinely caused harm, and strategic apology will repair the relationship. Everything else gets replaced with clear, confident communication that doesn't require you to apologize for existing. Drop this. I choose powerful language over apologetic language. Number 7. Reclaiming your power. The journey from chronic apologizer to strategically powerful person requires more than changing words. It requires fundamentally changing how you see yourself and your place in the world. You must internalize that you have inherent worth that doesn't require constant apology to justify. This transformation starts with self-awareness. For 1 week, track every apology. Write them down. At the end, categorize them. How many were for genuine mistakes? How many were for things outside your control? How many were for simply existing? This data will shock you. You're probably apologizing 10 to 20 times more than you realize, and 90% are completely unnecessary. Next, identify your apology triggers. What situations make you automatically say sorry? Is it when you need something? When you have a different opinion? When you're around authority figures? When someone seems upset? Understanding your triggers allows you to prepare alternative responses before the trigger hits. Then, practice sitting with discomfort. The urge to apologize is often an urge to escape discomfort. Someone looks annoyed and you want to apologize to make that look go away. Practice noticing the discomfort, acknowledging it internally, and choosing not to apologize. The discomfort doesn't actually hurt you. It's just uncomfortable. You can survive it without submitting. Machiavelli taught that true power comes from internal strength, not external validation. When your sense of worth depends on others' approval, you'll constantly apologize to maintain that approval. When your sense of worth comes from internal knowing that you're valuable, you don't need others' approval and you don't apologize for existing. This internal shift is the hardest part of reclaiming power. You've spent years, maybe decades, believing you need permission to exist fully, that your needs are burdensome, that taking up space requires justification. Undoing this belief takes time and conscious effort. You have to catch every thought that says, "I'm too much," or "I'm bothering them," or "I should apologize," and challenge it. Challenge those thoughts with reality. Are you actually too much, or have you been taught that any amount of you is too much? Are you actually bothering them, or are you assuming your presence is a burden? Do you need to apologize, or is this just your automatic response to discomfort? Most of the time, answers reveal you're responding to old programming, not current reality. Rebuild self-respect by honoring commitments to yourself. Every time you say you'll stop apologizing for something and then apologize anyway, you teach yourself your word doesn't matter. Every time you commit to maintaining a boundary and then collapse it, you reinforce that you're not worth protecting. Start small. Keep one commitment to yourself, then another. This builds evidence you can trust yourself. Surround yourself with people who respect you without requiring submission. If all your relationships are built on you apologizing and subordinating yourself, you'll struggle to change because change threatens those relationships. Find or build relationships where you can practice being yourself without constant apology. These relationships show you what respect without submission actually feels like. Understand that some people will react negatively to your transformation. They liked the old you who apologized constantly because that version was easier to dismiss, control, or ignore. When you stop apologizing and start owning your space, some will call you arrogant, difficult, or selfish. This is their discomfort with losing the power your submission gave them. Let them be uncomfortable. Their comfort is not your responsibility. The final step in reclaiming your power is making peace with being misunderstood or disliked by some people. You cannot maintain everyone's approval and also maintain self-respect. These goals are incompatible. Choose self-respect. The people who matter will respect you more when you stop apologizing for existing. The people who matter less will fade away. This isn't loss. This is clarity. Drop this. I reclaim my power through strategic non-apology. Number 8. Machiavelli's final warning. 500 years ago, Machiavelli watched princes lose their kingdoms not through lack of resources or intelligence, but through lack of respect. And that lack of respect came from one consistent pattern: apologizing for making hard decisions, apologizing for having boundaries, apologizing for existing in positions of power. He documented that the prince who apologizes for his strength loses that strength. The prince who apologizes for making necessary but unpopular decisions loses the authority to make any decisions. The prince who constantly seeks approval through apology becomes dependent on that approval and therefore controlled by those whose approval he seeks. His final warning applies directly to your life today. Every unnecessary apology is a piece of your kingdom that you're handing to someone else. Every sorry for existing is territory you're surrendering. Every apology for having needs, opinions, or feelings is power you're giving away. Over time, you'll have apologized yourself into powerlessness, into a life where everyone else's needs matter more than yours, where everyone else's opinions carry more weight, where you exist only in the spaces others permit you to occupy. This is not about becoming cruel or inconsiderate. This is about understanding that respect, including self-respect, cannot coexist with chronic apology for your existence. You can be kind without being weak. You can be considerate without being submissive. You can acknowledge genuine mistakes without collapsing into excessive apology for things that aren't mistakes at all. The world doesn't need more people apologizing for taking up space. The world needs more people who take up appropriate space with confidence, who contribute their gifts without apologizing for having them, who maintain boundaries without apologizing for those boundaries, who exist fully without seeking permission through constant sorry. You have a choice right now. Continue apologizing for your existence, your needs, your opinions, your humanity, This path leads to a smaller life where you become invisible even to yourself. Or stop apologizing for things that don't require apology. This path leads to reclaimed power, genuine respect, and relationships built on mutual dignity rather than your submission. Machiavelli's lesson is devastatingly simple. Never apologize for being who you are or needing what you need. Apologize only for genuine wrongdoing. Everything else is submission disguised as politeness. And submission, no matter how polite, is still powerlessness. Look at your life honestly. How much energy goes into managing others' comfort through apology? How much of your potential remains unexpressed because you apologize for having it? How much smaller have you made yourself to avoid the discomfort of existing fully? Each apology was a choice to give away power that belonged to you. Starting today, implement this rule. Before any apology, ask yourself if you've genuinely caused harm. If yes, apologize clearly, once, and correct the behavior. If no, choose different words. Thank you instead of sorry. Clear statements instead of apologetic questions. Direct communication instead of submission. Watch what happens. You'll be shocked how rarely you actually need to apologize. You'll discover that most apologies were protecting you from conflicts that never materialize. You'll find that people respect you more when you stop apologizing for existing. You'll learn that relationships built on mutual respect are stronger than relationships built on your submission. Never apologize for being human, for having expertise, for having needs, for having feelings, for taking up space, for asking questions, for having opinions, for existing fully. These things don't require apology. They require acknowledgement and respect, starting with your own. Be strategic with apology. Be generous with yourself. Be done with chronic submission disguised as politeness. This is how you reclaim power that was always yours. This is how you build respect that lasts. This is how you stop training people to dismiss you and start training them to value you. If this video opened your eyes to how much power you've given away one sorry at a time, drop this in the comments. I will never apologize for things that don't require apology. If you know someone trapped in chronic apologizing, share this video with them. Subscribe for more truth about power, respect, and psychological sovereignty. Remember, strategic apology repairs relationships. Chronic apology destroys self-respect. Choose wisely. Your future self will thank you for learning the difference.